Hello and welcome back. If you're a regular who comes to our channel, A Body Like Bruce, and looks at our video content. If you are a newbie, welcome also, and we hope that you enjoy our presented content. We came across this book from Citadel Press titled From Bruce Lee to the Ninjas, Martial Arts Movies by Richard Mayers, Amy Harlett, Bill and Karen Palmer, and we found it very, very intriguing. Of course, there's Bruce Lee, some other kung fu superstars, Chuck Norris, and some sort of ninja. Okay. Contents page. We'll specifically be looking at the Bruce Lee content. Preface, a note on the names and dates. First, the original language titles of Oriental films are often different from the titles Westerners see in the United States. In all cases, the authors list the original title and then put the US title in parentheses. Sometimes the titles don't change, and in some rare instances the films haven't been exported yet. In both cases the title is left alone without parentheses. Second, Chinese names are tough on Occidental eyes. To prevent further confusion, we have virtually eliminated the hyphens and capitalization changes that are rife in the Far East. For instance, we have changed names like Liu Chiang Liang to Liu Chia Liang. Finally, the dates. In every case we have printed the original languages, or the authors have printed the original language release date, not the date and it showed up in America. Example of the different titles in comparison to what the original title in the East and then retitled in the West is like Bruce Lee, the Chinese connection became Fist of Fury, Return of the Dragon became Way of the Dragon, and so forth. Introduction. Acceleration. That's what the martial arts movie is all about. To invigorate or stimulate. That's what it means. We are a writer, a dancer, and two martial artists, but we all found common ground in Chinatown theatres, in exploitation movie houses, and on television, enjoying probably the most misunderstood, most underrated, and most vilified film genre ever projected. This reputation is not without its basis. At its worst, the martial arts movie is laughable, totally deserving of derision. But at its best, it can supply an audience exhilaration that cannot be found in any other cinema. In actuality, what we're examining here is Oriental cinema and the American attempts to emulate it. Kung fu movies, judo films, ninja adventures, karate conflicts, and samurai sagas all chop, kick, slice, and spin within the Oriental movie arena. From the animal grace of Bruce Lee through the brutal flailing of Sonny Chiba to the wooden precision of Chuck Norris, martial arts movies are ridiculed or ignored by everyone save the millions who love them. The very same people who gasp and wonder at the Peking opera deride kung fu movies without realizing that the finest ones are marvelous combinations of opera and ballet. There are those who trumpet the works of John Wayne and John Ford while spurning the kinetic violence of Chambara, Japanese sword slashers, without realizing that the historic grandeur of the latter films are just as great as any Western. But enough of this defensiveness. The historic grandeur, the melodramatic emotions, and the impressive choreography only serve to point up the martial arts movies' action. That's what we really love. These are great action movies. These are great superhero movies. They deliver where other unimaginative, overblown, and campy superhero movies fail. These movies aren't afraid to play the incredible fight straight. These movies don't have to hope that you believe a man can fly. Men and women actually do fly in these pictures, and without the aid of unconvincing wires or front screen projections. In the Oriental cinema, the actor is the stuntman and actually performs all the stunning feats on screen, creating a verisimilitude the likes of which Superman and Batman can't even approach. That's another thing. The best martial arts movies are period pieces in which people call upon their own greatest abilities to succeed, and not on cars to escape or on guns to win. The heroes of Oriental films are terrific acrobats and martial artists, magnificent athletes who can be literally breathtaking to watch. Their precision and power underline the attributes of the martial arts film. The history of the Orient and of the martial arts movie is a grand one, and this volume is a tour of it. To consider every chop-socky picture would be impossible, not to mention pretty horrible. Unfortunately, American importers seem to seek out the worst the Orient has to offer while shopping carefully in France, Germany and other film capitals. To discourse in extreme detail on how many bad kung fu movies called Bloody Fingernails were made in the Philippines for $1.98 would serve neither the reader nor the genre. Instead, these pages will tell you just about everything you need to know to enhance your viewing, whether it be in the theatres or in home. We will tell you what to look for as well as what to watch out for. We will trumpet the best and decry the worst. From Enter the Dragon to Kung Fu Zombies, get ready. This is the martial arts movie. Chapter 1. Bruce Lee, the King of Kung Fu. To most of the world, the martial arts movies can be summed up in one name: Bruce Lee. It was he, more than anyone else, who established the power of the genre internationally. It was his superlative martial arts ability and canny filmmaking knowledge which touched audiences everywhere, leaving a mark that cannot be erased. But it is also Bruce Lee who, through a series of unfortunate occurrences, set a trap for the martial arts film that is just beginning to escape from. Had Bruce Lee lived, perhaps this trap would never have been sprung. But he did not live, and his mysterious, frustrating death marked both the beginning and the end of the martial arts movie genre. The beginnings for the teacher and filmmaker started November 27, 1940, when Lee Jun-fan was born to Lee Hoi-chun and his wife Grace in San Francisco. It goes on about his birth and his family history, etc., and his progression into Cantonese opera and then into movies. Okay, most of the stuff you already know as a fan. And then he goes to America, ends up with roles in The Green Hornet, as Kato, etc., etc. He hits the big time, and he's the big boss. Fist of Fury. Way of the Dragon. Where he fights Chuck Norris. Here he's instructing Chuck Norris. Bruce Lee directs then unknown karate champion Chuck Norris. Well, he was known in the karate circle, being a champion, but he wasn't known in the film world, for the American entrance into Return of the Dragon, or Way of the Dragon, where Bruce Lee fights him in the Roman Colosseum. Chuck Norris on the left, the very hairy white guy. Bruce Lee on the right. This is the exceptional fight scene which climaxed Return of the Dragon, or Way of the Dragon. It goes into great detail of what happens in the film. And Enter the Dragon, John Saxon, Bruce Lee posing when he fights against Han in his lair. John Saxon fighting Bolo. I like to talk to the lady who owns the stud. Bruce Lee at his animal best in Enter the Dragon. Jacky Chan, stuntman, working on the set of Enter the Dragon, getting his neck snapped in an armbar. Right. Bruce Lee's infamous nunchaku scene. Han, who has a hand made of blades. Bruce Lee up against the guards to finally fight his Han, defeats him. Okay, and then it talks about the Kung Fu series, which he was supposed to star in, but was said to be too Asian looking. So they got what's his name? The other guy to play it. Okay. And he had ideas for the silent flute, and of course that same David Carradine starred in it. Okay, here he is with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, The basketball player on the set of the incomplete game of death. Okay, then he dies. And there's some students. That might be Mike Stone, James Coburn, Chuck Norris, without the moustache or beard, we're all familiar with, Logan from Aquatic Session, and Bruce Lee himself. Yeah, here we go. Mike Stone, James Coburn, Chuck Norris, and Bruce Lee in a photo taken in America during the mid-60s when Lee was still seeking stardom. Some clones of Bruce Lee. This might be Bruce Lee. Yeah. Ho Sung Dao, or otherwise known as Bruce Lee, readies himself for yet another inferior exploitation, in this case the movie Dynamo. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Okay, and now the King of Kung Fu comes back to life. The Bruce Lee story, how he lived, how he loved, how he fought, how he died, all new. See the truth exploded in the Dragon Dice Hard promotional poster. And down here it says more false advertising promoting one of the worst of the Bruce Lee exploitations. So it sounds like that movie was crap. Yeah, we haven't watched it. Okay. Bruce Lee and Bruce Lee inspired action from the movie Dynamo. Looks like a rip-off of Fist of Fury. Okay, here he is again in action against some guy, bad guy. Yeah. He's Dragon Lee. Again, he was the closest looking to Bruce Lee. Just had a different kind of build, different eyes, probably Korean. A double exploitation. Not only does this film tread on Bruce Lee's memory, it has a Jackie Chan impersonator as well. Yeah, sometimes they have some weird names. Jackie Chiang, Jackie Chin, Jackie Chun, you know, that sort of thing. Dragon Lee fights again. Three great masters: Bruce Lee, Fred Williamson, Ron Van Cleef. This was like a documentary. They're trying to find who would be the next Bruce Lee. It's quite good for a documentary. It's got I think it's Jim Brown in it. Yeah, Roy Van Cleef. This is the Black Dragon Karate or something. Okay, here's some movies here. Bruce Lee died in Betty Ting Pei's apartment. Sadly, the actress decided to tell her own cinematic story in the dreadful Bruce Lee, His Last Days, His Last Nights. Yeah, that was a lot of crap. It's really dumb. Okay. Shows him smoking weed, snorting cocaine, or some crap like that. A load of rubbish. Yeah. Getting it on with her. Bronson Lee. Tadashi Yamashita. Yeah, I think he's on the Enter the Ninja, or American Ninja movie, something like that. Bruce Lee, His Last Days, His Last Nights was low and on Kung Fu and high on this sort of scene as Betty Ting Pei fools around with Lee Shui Yushin probably playing Bruce Lee. Okay. Chapter 2, China the Source. The problem with Kung Fu, Fred Weintraub is director on Into the Dragon, says, is that it is fantasy. Once someone shoots someone else, everybody understands it. That's reality. But when somebody does fantastic martial arts, that's fantasy. You never see that in life. You never see that on the news. What you see is people shot and run over. When you're working in martial arts, you're working in fantasy. You're working with ballet. Truer words were seldom spoken, and fewer people were better equipped to deal with the balletic fantasy of Kung Fu than the Chinese. We're talking about a history here that goes all the way back to at least 2500 BC. From that period to the present, the annals of the Chinese are rich in mythology, legend and lore. It is these legends that make up the bulk of the best martial arts films. It is this rich tradition that Bruce Lee was planning to tap and thereby introduce to an international audience before he died. And so forth. There's some classics. King Boxer, known in America as Five Fingers of Death. From the Shaw Brothers. Lo Liet, a long-time Hong Kong screen villain, led the Chinese invasion of America with 5 fingers of death. There is an action. Here's some more advertised films. Here comes Carradine, the Hong Kong cat. He's quick as a cougar, hits like a tiger, preys on a man. Killer, karate blows that tear flesh apart. The 4 Assassins. Richard Harrison, I think he played a lot of ninja movies. Sandy, yellow coloured hair, moustache wearing ninja. You never really watch much of his movies. His Golden Leopard's Brutal Revenge, Rebellion Turns into Bloodbath, The Bloody Avengers. There's some more movies. No one will be admitted during the last 10 minutes due to the incredible ending. So it's the Shaolin Invincibles. This guy looks familiar. Different kinds of kung fu are as varied as the characters who populate the martial arts film genre. To list them all would be impractical, and considering the way new fictional kinds of kung fu are created in various movies, darn near impossible. They're all listed below. What kind of styles there are: Chorley foot, drunken style, hungar, monkey, tiger, crane, etc. All the different styles. More information on, supposedly there seems to be a slight disagreement concerning which was the first Chinese martial arts movie. The Hong Kong International Film Festival listed as 1920s Thief in the Cat. Was it Thief in the Car? The late lamented Martial Arts Movie magazine listed it as Monkey Fights Golden Leopard in an article by James Situ. This was a 1926 silent film about the Monkey King, taken from a famous Chinese novel entitled Journey to the West. However, most English-speaking fans of the genre consider it to be 1929's The Burning of the Red Lotus Temple. It hardly makes any difference, really, since the 30s and 40s were rife with nebulous martial arts influenced films like Made in Shanghai and Hong Kong. These movies are little more than film stage plays, all sharing an artificiality that reduced the effect of whatever kung fu was included. Usually this kung fu was either faked by actors who were laboriously choreographed and then filmed move by move, or was shown as amazing feats accomplished with wires and pulleys. Even so, the films from 1920 to 1945 are interesting in terms of how they relate to the later movies, also for how their colourful titles compare to their somewhat staid presentation. For instance, there was 1927's How Wu Song Killed His Sister-in-Law, 1933's Bloody Fights, 1939's Hu Wei Qian Smashes the Engine Room, and 1948's How Fan Shiyu Took a 10,000-mile Journey for Vengeance. The reason movies were being made at all was that Hong Kong and Shanghai were westernized, that is, they were more modern and less restricted than their mainland Chinese comrades. These areas were also overpopulated and stricken with all manner of social ills that progress can create. Therefore, they were in far more need of mass media entertainment. Up until 1949, the entertainment was highly stylized theatre and cinema, mostly based on ancient traditions. But then a director named Hu Ping heard about a master of martial arts named Huang Fei Hong. Born in 1847, died in 1924, Huang Fei Hong was the son of one of the famous 10 Tigers of Guangdong, a group around which several movies had been made. Other than the fact that he practiced medicine, was expert in many forms of kung fu, and excelled at a sport contest called lion dancing, not much is known about the fellow. Hu Ping rectified all that by starting a marathon film series which comprised an incredible 85 feature films over a 20-year period. 1949's The Story of Huang Fei Hong, Parts 1 and 2 was only the beginning of a phenomenon which was to become the foundation of the modern kung fu film. Up until then, Most movie martial arts feats were totally ludicrous and completely inaccurate, a problem which still afflicts most bad kung fu movies, namely most of the ones that appeared in the US immediately after Bruce Lee died. Men leaped higher than trees, women flew through the air for hundreds of yards, and fighters did endless somersaults. The actors in the Wang Fei Hong movies insisted on realism in all the important action scenes. For the first time, Kung Fu was the heart of the film, not just a peripheral ingredient. So the need for accuracy became vital in order to honestly portray the leading character's life. It also didn't hurt that the lead actor was so similar to the character he played. Quan Ta Hing was the name of that actor, and his similarities to the actual Wang are telling, and so forth. Okay. Here is a movie poster. The Tiger Jump was the original name of this inexpensive movie, obviously filmed in the Philippines. It came to American theatres with the strange title of Hard as a Dragon. Hong Kong Wushu Warriors. First hint of things to come was in 1967. There had been years of Wang Fei Hong films, but also other movies like 1964's The Young Swordsman. Swordplay movies had been a regular staple in Chinese cinema since the beginning, ranging in a quality from predictable to awful. They were also marked by a ponderous artificiality, so audiences weren't expecting anything special when the lights went down and the screen lit up with the one-armed swordsman. No one was prepared for what they saw. People stared in amazement as the supreme swordsman is saved from a murderous attack by a servant who dies in his master's place. The swordsman takes the servant's son, Fong Kong, as his own, teaching him everything he knows. Years later, the swordsman is ready to retire and plans to turn his martial arts school over to Fong. All the attention Fong has received has turned the swordsman's daughter bitter and hateful. With two male students, he plans her revenge. The trio confront the confused Fong, and in the ensuing fight, the daughter hacks Fong's right arm off herself, blood pouring out of his shoulder. Fong falls into the arms of a girl named Xiu Min, who slowly nurses him back to health. But by that time, the situation is only growing worse. A rival martial arts school led by the long-armed devil wants to destroy the elder swordsman's school utterly. They find the one-armed man and the girl. He manages to fight them off, but is again badly beaten in the process. Bloody, exhausted, despondent, Fong is inspired by his woman's love. It is she who tells him to start again. Laboriously, he learns to become the master. He learns to master the one-armed sword, and so forth. He gets his revenge eventually, I suppose. Death on a Rampage of Stolen Jade, Master of Kung Fu. Quan Tak Hing's wasn't any man to play the famous Wang Fei Hong character. Ku Feng, one of the great Chinese supporting actors, here starred as a beloved martial artist. What's this? Is this the face of a movie series superstar? Quan Tak Hing is no James Bond, but the Chinese Kung Fu Jimmy Stewart appeared in over 80 movies. Okay. Who would this guy be? Is that him? Quan Tak Hing? That's Ku Feng, whoever that guy was. Okay, it's Jimmy Wang Yu by the looks of it. Although he's already wounded, Jimmy Wang Yu is about to lose an arm in order to become the one-armed boxer. Now, is this the face of a superstar? It's Jimmy Wang Yu, who was the biggest thing in the Orient before Bruce Lee and Tattooed Dragon. Yeah, I remember that guy, one-armed boxer, etc., etc. I think it was in The Man from Hong Kong, but I don't know if we saw that one. If I saw that one, can't remember. So long ago. Used to frequent a Asian movie, kung fu movie theatre in the city. I think it took over from people that had a roller skate arena there. Can't remember. Could the Rainbow. It was really good. Used to always go there and watch those kung fu movies. That's why I got inspired by kung fu, martial arts. Loved it. Then when Bruce Lee came along, oh my gosh, flipped. Okay, some more movies. After the excitement of his first 4 films, Jimmy Wang Yu did variations on them for the rest of his career. Here he does a follow-up to the One-Armed Boxer, One-Armed Against 9 Killers. Okay, here's another of Wang Yu's movies. Blood of the Dragon. Angela Mao Ying herself, the first major female kung fu star, as she appeared in the violent When Taekwondo Strikes. She was Bruce Lee's sister in Enter the Dragon that killed herself because Bob O'Hara was going to do the dirty on her, right? There she is there, in action. Huang In-sik, seek the villain of When Taekwondo Strikes. I wonder if he's that guy that was on that Way of the Dragon, or his son. It was his son. Maybe this guy's old. Maybe it's the same guy. The one he says, "Are you Dong Long?" And he gets his butt kicked by Bruce Lee. I'm sure that's the same guy. Huang In-sik. Yeah, sure it's the same guy. Movie poster, The Deadly Duo. Some more kung fu movies with different stars. More kung fu actors. David Chiang, Chin Quan Tai, matured into one of the strongest of kung fu actors. Here he discovered the umbrella, skeleton of death, as one hope against the flying guillotine. The stuff they come up with. Alexander Fuxing's breakthrough role was that of Na Cha the Great, a demigod of ancient Chinese times. What's this? Chinatown Kid. Yeah, I think I might have seen that, or snippets of that. Yeah, not bad. Kung Fu Warlords, starring the best kung fu actor of the year, Alexander Fuxing. Produced by Sir Run Shaw of the Shaw Brothers. There's some more posters, different martial art movies. Starring Alexander Fuxing. Black Belt versus Black Magic, 7 brothers and 1 sister. Up against Dracula. David Chiang tried for international stardom with this lively horror kung fu movie. Not surprisingly, neither he nor the film was taken seriously. Kung Fu Kills Dracula. Okay, The Lost Kung Fu Secret, starring Garth Lowe, etc. First great superhero kung fu movie. Here's the 5 deadly venoms wearing the masks that made them infamous. Muscular Lo Meng on the left fights to keep out of the pointed torture device in the 5 deadly venoms. Looks like some sort of Iron Maiden there with all these spikes and stuff like that, isn't it? He's fighting this guy off so he doesn't end up in there. Second big star. Lo Meng left fights the venerable Chin Quan Tai at the climax of Mortal Kombat. Is that the movie Mortal Kombat? Original movie Mortal Kombat? Just trying to have a look here, see if it was actually called that. Can't see anything here. Could have been that they're both, like locked in Mortal Kombat, but it's a different type set, right? Just trying to see if that was the actual name of it. Mentioned something about Chiang. Is it Jacky Chiang? Okay, Jacky Chiang was at the start. To Kill with Intrigue was the last straw. Low Ways Company. It's the one who did Big Boss, maybe Fist of Fury. Bruce Lee. They were at odds because this guy was a gambler and just would rather, on the set of Big Boss, listen to the races, right, instead of directing. To Kill with Intrigue was the last straw. Low Ways Company didn't have the money or the materials to make great kung fu films. Instead, they had to rely on Jackie Chan's skill as a fighter. But even a fighter of Chan's ability couldn't do much with terrible working conditions and mediocre scripts. When this film also failed at the box office, drastic methods were called for. Instead of fighting against the inevitable restraints of bad martial arts filmmaking, Chan helped with them. He fooled around. He helped them what was in effect a kung fu version of Rocky and Bullwinkle. The seminal cartoon show openly admitted it was inexpensive and utilised the fact the animated squirrel and moose constantly jibed at the genre's limitations and cliches, as did half a loaf of kung fu. Chan's next low-way production. Bad kung fu movies usually contain ridiculous overstatements, outrageous sound effects, music stolen from American successes, and various other indulgences. Chan and company pushed these weaknesses as far as they could for this film. Chan plays a hapless bumbler who wants to be a great martial artist, and the movie chronicles his ultimate lack of success. He lampoons Chinese, Japanese and American movies in Jackie Chan's laughing variation, which just barely manages to please. After that, Chan made 3 final straight kung fu movies for Low Way. The first was Magnificent Bodyguard, 1978, a last-ditched effort to get viewers, since it was a period piece filmed in 3D. Seeing Chan in any of these previous movies now is a lot like seeing Burt Reynolds in Skullduggery, 1969, Roy Scheider in Curse of the Living Corpse, 1964, or any well-known film star in the movie way below his or her talents. On his last 2 low-way films, Spiritual Kung Fu and Dragon Fist, both 1978, Chan is named martial arts instructor. Therefore, both films have a look closer to what most fans recognise as the actor's style. Curiously, both films feature concepts that were either borrowed from or inspired by Liu Chia Liang. The former film is similar to tone and title to Liang's Spiritual Boxer, while the latter has a climax similar to Dirty Ho, which the Shaws released the same year. In both, one fighter becomes the legs of another, and so forth. So a lot of Low Ways movies he couldn't afford, so he had to do a real cheap budget. Jackie Chan becomes superstar. All these crazy Chinese kung fu movies with ninjas in it and all that sort of stuff. Ninjas that don't do ninjutsu, they do kung fu. Street Fighter's duel in a blast of death, challenge of the masters. Monk style Shaolin Kung Fu movies. The old white bearded man, white haired man, the master, all that sort of stuff, or the villain, you know, they got to go up against. Okay, it's like a Shaolin monk of some sort. This is the way the Shaolin temple develops arm strength. Lower the arms and it's goodbye ribs. Liu Chia Hui gets closer to becoming the master killer. He goes through all this training, right? All these tests. Liu Chia Hui develops wrist strength on the way to becoming a master killer. Challenge of the Ninja. Shoji Kurata Right gives Liu Chia Hui the final challenge of the ninja. More zany Shaolin monk antics. This is Gordon Liu, the master killer. I think he might have been on Kill Bill. Maybe he's the guy wearing the Kato mask, Kato outfit. Probably brother of Lucy Liu, maybe, not really sure. But yeah, pretty sure he was on Kill Bill. He had something to do with Kill Bill. Tarantino's Kill Bill 2, maybe. Okay. More Shaolin antics. Ladies getting in on it. Cat versus rat. Get a load of the usually bald Liu Chia Hui and Cat versus Rat. Also get a load of the Shaw Brothers Studios ornate interior set, complete with a bird on an overhanging branch. Here he practices the Shaolin handout. Poster for Cat versus Rat. Who's this? Adam Chiang left, loses most of his customary cool when fighting the powerful, precise Wang Lung Wei during Shaolin and Wu Tang. This is A Hard Way to Die. Billy Chong again. The Bruce Lee of the 80s, they reckon. Information about this particular film. Here's Jackie Chan, Shaolin Wooden Men, To Kill with Intrigue. This is Snake, Crane. Can't really see that. Snake and Crane, Shaolin. Half a loaf of Kung Fu. Magnificent Bodyguards and The Fearless Hyena. Seen some of these movies, are brilliant. It's brilliant in those. Yeah, this is probably Simon Yuen, the drunken master. He goes through all these tests to perfect his Kung Fu. The big brawl, that wasn't too bad. Jag and Lord. Jackie Chan Eagle Shadow. The Word of the Drunken Master. Is that Jackie Chan? Who's his name in here? The Living Legend Returns, Jackie Chan Connection. With the success of Jackie Chan came the same sort of exploitation that haunted Bruce Lee. Yuen Bio, star of The Prodigal Son, Dreadnought Project A, and many others. Sammo Hung. There he is there. Golden Harvest. Some more flying sword movies, etc. Period pieces by the look of it. Aha, here he is. Jet Li, the first martial arts star from the People's Republic of China. Jet Li in action, chopping down poles in a sequence filmed at the Shaw Brothers studio in Hong Kong for the Shaolin Temple, the People's Republic's first kung fu epic. Because he was, Wushu champion, etc. Japan, samurai swordsmen and karate killers. Yes, like the old samurai. I've forgotten this guy's name. Watanabe or something? Toshiro Mifune, something like that. Pretty sure it was him. He's an earlier Japanese sword fighting movie stars, right? Old pieces, old movies. So Ichi, the blind swordman, cuts down the enemy. Yeah, the guy who played it originally, he was really good. And then I think they had a blonde one. He wasn't too bad. They were even saying that Bruce Lee may have played him if he lived on. The Lone Wolf and Son, that's actually quite good. Quite comedic. Yeah. Infant boy being pushed around by this guy, Ronin Samurai something. And yeah, underway. I think it's like you think that he's killing him, but it's this boy or something like that. Yeah, it's quite comical. It's a really good movie, good series. Decided to watch it one day and really enjoyed it. Baby Cat series holds the distinction of being the bloodiest on record in Shogun Assassin Tomisaburo Wakayama shows why. Okay. Very excellent old classics. Sonny Chiba, didn't really watch much of his, but yeah, heard of him. The Street Fighter, and then the Return of the Street Fighter. Who is he? Don't mess with Shinichi Sonny Chiba unless you want to lose some important piece of your anatomy. He's the Street Fighter. This man messed with Sonny Chiba at the Street Fighter and got his teeth taken away. Pretty bloody, pretty violent. There he is there, in his prime. He made a lot of movies. Who's this? Duke Sonata. The grace of Bruce Lee, the speed of Sonny Chiba, the force of Chuck Norris. Duke Sonata in Roaring Fire. Now this starring Sonny Chiba and introducing Duke Sonata. Abdullah the Butcher. What if he's on those wrestling? The old WWE or something like that. Way back. Or maybe someone else was using his name. Not too sure. Into the Street Fighter, I want karate fighters, not karate dancers. Shinichi Sonny Chiba, Champion of Death, 1978. Henry Sonata in action, whoever he was. Well, is that Jackie Chiang? Although a protege of Sonny Chiba, Henry Sonata's best film was Ninja in the Dragon's Den, where he got to spar with Conan Lee. Okay, on the right. Oh, interesting. Okay, American noble Norris and Nasty Ninjas. Bong Soo-han was brought to the public's attention by Tom Laughlin, and they made audiences laugh in the A Fistful of Yuen segment of the Kentucky Fried Movie. Yeah, that's a brilliant Kentucky Fried Movie parody of Bruce Lee Into the Dragon, and this guy is supposed to be mimicking Han. He had so many different hand fittings, like even one was a toothbrush or something like that. Yeah, brilliant. The guy who played Bruce Lee, I think, was in. Not too sure if he's a guy who was in Police Academy. Chinese guy. Not too sure about that one. Actually, that guy might have been Japanese. Might have been a different guy. Okay, so Noble Norris and Nasty Ninjas. Okay, so Chuck Norris started getting into film, I guess. Leads up to that, I suppose. Yeah, I think I might have seen this one. He's like a samurai. He could use guns as well, something like that. Pistols. It's like a cowboy samurai. Okay, here we go. Jim Kelly went from America to China to battle Bolo. It's Bolo Yung. And the Tattoo Connection. Yeah, I think I saw that. Jim Kelly smashes his way through black belt Jones. Yeah, he's like the black Bruce Lee, right? Yeah, pretty cool. Sudden Death. Robert Conrad Felton Perry. Fist. The blaxploitation subgenre of the 70s led to such mutations as a kung fu blaxploitation movie that this film represents. Kill Squad, yeah, it wasn't too bad. The idea here seemed to be the more the merrier. However, 12 hands, 12 feet aren't reasons to die. They are ways to die. So much for truth in advertising. Who was in that? I can't remember who was in that. Cameron Mitchell, I remember that guy. Pretty good actor. I'm not too sure about all these other guys. Nice Guys Kick Fast. The Yakuza. Ken Takakura finishes off the Yakuza as Robert Mitchum slumps exhausted behind him. Yeah, I remember that one. Remember that movie. Ed Parker. That was told about Bruce Lee at his tournament. Ed Parker, master of Kempo, tries to tear a guy's head off during Kill the Golden Goose, and he's just the guy to do it. James Ryan, Kill or Be Killed, and Kill Again. Yeah, they're pretty good movies. Wasn't too bad. Chuck Norris. Yeah. Julian Kisner, who had a good face, a great body, and decent enough martial arts skills to star in the softcore kung fu movie Firecracker. It's Bill Superfoot Wallace as the villain versus Chuck Norris left in a force of one. Yeah, apparently this guy, he had, I don't know if it was a fake leg or something. Not really sure. He had some problem with that leg. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had something. I can't remember, but it was something like that. Don't think he actually had a fake leg, but he had something wrong with his leg. But the dude could kick, right? That's why they call him Superfoot. Chuck Norris, starts his solo career in Breaker Breaker. Don't remember that one. Was he a trucker or something? Good Guys Wear Black. Was that Breaker Breaker? The single best moment of Good Guys Wear Black. He jumps through the on the car and puts his foot through the windscreen. Doesn't get cut, nothing. And he through the car's windshield, and he kicks the driver in the head or something like that. Chuck Norris has the sword, and Tadashi Yamashita has the size. Oh, the size. Yeah, sai. Those they're like got 3 bars on them, and they stop a sword and all that sort of stuff in the octagon. Yeah, Tadashi Yamashita was a freaking good actor. Here's Marco, remember that guy from Conan the Barbarian, that wizard. Chuck Norris and Eye for an Eye with some chicky babe. Yeah, Chuck had some good movies. Lone Wolf McQuade, where he kicked David Carradine's butt. Quote here: David Carradine is about as good a martial artist as I am an actor. Chuck Norris quoted. David Carradine, starred on Kung Fu TV series Grasshopper, is about as good a martial artist as I am an actor. Chuck Norris was quoted as saying, sadly they were evenly matched in Lone Wolf McQuade. Tadashi Yamashita in action. Who's this? Joe Lewis, right, plays Jerry Martin, the head of Force 5. Benny Urquidez shows off his high-flying style of Force in Force 5. Benny the Jet. These are like top karate guys, right? In their day. Oh, Franco Nero doesn't look at all happy replacing Mike Stone as the star of Enter the Ninja. Yeah, he was an actor. You don't know if he was a martial artist. Okay, some movie stills here. Richard Norton gets his kicks in Force 5. He played a lot of the super ninja, American ninja type character. He's the guy with the blonde hair and the mustache and all that sort of stuff. It sticks out above the mask, the lower mask. Mike Stone shows some fancy arm work which made him the only undefeated karate champion in history. He went on to write, choreograph and double the white ninja and Enter the Ninja. Okay. Mike Stone kills red ninjas in the jungle opening of Enter the Ninja. Yeah, because Franco Nero wasn't a martial artist, right? So he replaced him with this guy. Yeah, he goes up against maybe that what's his name? Sho Kosugi? Is his name? Oh my gosh. Sho Kosugi. Yeah, it wasn't too bad a movie. Yeah, Mike Stone with the mustache faces his arch enemy Sho Kosugi and Enter the Ninja. There he is there, and you think it's Franco Nero, but it's actually Mike Stone. Ninja Mission. Okay, it's all white people, etc. Ninja Exploitation.